A hallmark pattern of material design is using a floating action button, or FAB. This is a vibrant coloured circular icon button that floats above the rest of your content in your app, and it's a way of promoting a prominent action and of communicating the character of a screen. As this button floats in front of other content, it's always easily accessible and communicates its importance. While it floats above content and generally has the highest elevation of all views, it can still respond to changes in other parts of your UI, for example, scrolling with the content or repositioning. FABs have standard sizes and elevation so that they are recognizable across applications. They come in either 40 or 56 dp diameters and generally have a resting elevation of 6 dp, rising to 12 dp when pressed. While they can be positioned wherever makes sense for your interface, they tend to sit well on seams and steps where two surfaces meet or anchored to an appropriate corner. Just as the FAB is a great way to direct attention, you should be careful not to overuse it everywhere in your app and only use a single FAB per screen. Not every screen needs a FAB, but if there is one clear action on the screen, then it's a great way to promote it. If you're struggling to identify which action should be a FAB, then it's a good sign that you probably don't need one on that screen.
So let's continue to work with the walk-in app. We've identified the key components of the app with surfaces, but we still have that pesky ancient toolbar. Which of the following toolbar buttons should be a floating action button? Scan, the list, or settings? The correct answer is scan. It's the only option out of the three that's a clear action. The other two are nouns describing things that you want to view, set, or change. You want to view the list and set or change settings, but scanning a barcode is a clear thing you're doing and you'll likely want to do when you open the app. Now that we've identified what should be our promoted action, let's create one. The design support library implements all the features one would have to build into a FAB, like touch elevation and interaction with other elements. Some features, like ripples, are not supported in all versions of Android, even with the use of the support library. Depending on when your project was created or what version of Android Studio you used to create it, the project might already have some of the things I'm going to add. On the other hand, you'll likely come across a legacy app that you would need to update, so it's good to know what to look for. First, you'll need to add these two lines to your build.gradle file. I'll explain why we need AppCompat in just a second. The design library adds several widgets and layouts that make implementing material design much easier. 22.2.0 was the most recent version at the time of recording, but use whatever is the latest and greatest. So here's our definition of the floating action button that would be in our layout file. So as you can see, some of these attributes are on the app namespace and some are on Android namespace. Let's focus on the app ones. So as Nick mentioned before, the FAB can be normal sized or mini. This corresponds to 56 dips. Next, we have an elevation, a resting elevation for our floating action button. We want that to be 6 dips. One thing that might be new is the layout gravity. Assuming a left to right layout system, end is a synonym for right. So it should lay out the FAB to the right of whatever element or your layout. Next is the press translation Z property of 12 dips. So when this button is pressed, we want it to raise to a total of 12 dips. That's followed by a bunch of attributes here that you've probably already seen before. So we're not going to go over these point by point right now. Now, if we try to build this right now, it'll refuse to run properly. Android Studio will first complain that there was an error inflating the floating action button. That's because the FAB needs AppCompat for style information. To resolve this last error, we need to replace instances of material with AppCompat, and then you're all set. Your FAB will elevate and show ripples when touched, and you can treat it like any other button in your UI.